Good morning. Happy Friday. Thanks for joining us. I'm Savannah Sellers. Joe's on assignment today, so it's just me. We begin this Friday morning with the race for the White House. Vice President Kamala Harris is back in Washington this morning following a two-day bus tour in battleground Georgia. She held a rally yesterday in Savannah where she also gave her first joint interview of the campaign with CNN. It was alongside her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. We'll have more on that in just a moment. First, though, let's get to the appearance by former President Trump earlier this week at Arlington National Cemetery. He's defending that to NBC News. He says it wasn't a political stunt and says he was asked for a picture by family members who lost their children in the withdrawal from Afghanistan. NBC News correspondent Dasha Burns has this exclusive.
In our exclusive interview, the former president responded for the first time to the controversy surrounding his visit to Arlington National Cemetery. And he also announced a new policy proposal regarding fertility treatments. Former President Donald Trump back in the battleground state of Michigan, making his first public comments about the controversy over his visit to Arlington National Cemetery earlier this week.
I was asked to go there by people who lost their child because of Biden and Harris, because their pullout was so bad of Afghanistan. They lost their child. And all of a sudden I hear that somebody that I have no idea who it is got into an argument with somebody else at the cemetery about pictures being taken. I took them at the request of the families, and I'm very happy I did.
In a statement, an Army spokesperson said that Defense Department regulations, quote, clearly prohibit political activities on cemetery grounds, and that a cemetery employee was, quote, abruptly pushed aside when trying to ensure adherence to those rules.
We lost 13 great people.
The campaign on Tuesday posting this TikTok, highlighting video of Trump's visit, laying a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier, then posing among grave sites with family of service members killed in the attack at Abbey Gate in Afghanistan. Should your campaign have put out those videos and photos?
Well, we have a lot of people. You know, we have people, TikTok people. You know, we're leading the internet.
But on that hallowed ground, should they have put out the images of those? I don't know what the
rules and regulations are. I don't know who did it. And it could have been them. It could have been the parents. It could have been somebody.
It was your campaign's TikTok, though, that put out the video.
I really don't know anything about it. All I do is I stood there and I said, if you'd like to have a picture, we can have a picture.
The former president also reflecting on the assassination attempt against him in Butler, Pennsylvania. I wonder, having come so close, do you feel safe these days?
It was incredible that happened, that I was turned at that particular point, where something, the shooters would say it was like almost 100% that bad things would have happened. So I view it as, you know, a very positive event. Maybe it's positive because somebody wants me to take care of our country, which is failing so badly.
The former president also suggesting first to NBC News if he were reelected, fertility treatments would be covered without giving specifics on how.
Under the Trump administration, we are going to be paying for that treatment. So we are paying for that treatment.
All Americans who want it?
For all Americans that get it, all Americans that need it.
We did the math. That kind of plan would likely cost around $7.8 billion annually based on the number of IVF cycles in 2022. Meanwhile, the Harris campaign is responding, saying in a statement, in part, because Trump overturned Roe v. Wade, IVF is already under attack.
All right, Dasha, thank you very much for that exclusive. Now let's get to that first joint interview of the campaign for the Democratic ticket of Vice President Kamala Harris and Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. Harris and Walz sat down for the interview yesterday with CNN while they were wrapping up a two-day bus tour in Georgia, culminating with a rally in the city of Savannah. In the highly anticipated interview, Harris was pressed about her policies and what a Harris presidency could potentially look like. Here are some of the highlights.
If you are elected, what would you do on day one in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. I'm the only person in this race who actually served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws, and I would enforce our laws as president going forward. I recognize the problem.
The idea that you said that you were in war. Yeah. Did you misspeak, as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me.
I think it's important to have people at the table when some of the most important decisions are being made that have different views, different experiences. And I think it would be to the benefit of the American public to have a member of my cabinet who was a Republican.
What I want to ask you about is what he said last month. He suggested that you happened to turn black recently for political purposes, questioning a core part of your identity.
Yeah.
Any?
Same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
That's it?
That's it.
For more on the Harris interview, let's now bring in NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Vitale. Ali, good morning. Thank you very much for being up early with us on a Friday. So let's start there with the Democrats. What are we hearing from them this morning? We finally get this interview with the Democratic ticket. Was the interview enough to address concerns from voters who feel they really haven't heard enough on specific issues, on specific policies from Harris or Walz?
Yes, and candidly, I actually think a lot of this has been a little bit overblown. As someone a reporter who does campaigns, who covers Capitol Hill, you always want to be able to ask principal and elected officials questions about policy, about whatever's going on in the news of day. Yes, to always doing more interviews for that reason. But this idea that she didn't have policy herself, to me, was always a little bit overblown, in large part because as the second half of the Biden-Harris administration, her name is on all of the policy innately that was passed over the first 2 years of this administration. That was the Inflation Reduction Act. That was elements of the care economy. That was a child tax credit that, of course, has since elapsed, but is very much still, as you heard again in that interview, back on the table. And then, of course, we are aware of the strong stance and the leadership, frankly, that she has shown within this administration on things like access to abortion care. That is one of the top issues. And then, of course, as someone who followed her on the campaign trail in 2019 and into the administration in 2020, the other piece of this that I was interested in hearing about is the ways in which her platform has changed. And I think that is a fair criticism because she has backtracked on things like initially saying she would ban fracking as a presidential candidate herself, and then, of course, joining the Biden ticket in 2020 and saying in that vice presidential debate that she had reversed her position there. She explained some of those changes as not an evolution of values, but an evolution of receiving more information and seeing that there might be other ways to get to the ultimate policy goals that she felt were necessary. But all in all, the goal here was do no harm and start doing these interviews. That was clearly achieved.
Ali, you, of course, are a Capitol Hill expert, and I'm wondering how it's feeling on the Hill in terms of what we're seeing happen with polling here, with Vice President Harris rising in the polls, in some cases surpassing the former president. Is there concern with ranks of Republicans on the Hill who have their own re-election races to run? Never mind looking at the White House, but do they feel that this potential shift, at least in some places in momentum, could be difficult for them to overcome as well?
Covering Capitol Hill these last few months has really been just vibe tracking, to put it plainly.
Yeah,
you have watched Democrats get as low as they can possibly get in the month of July during that tumultuous period after the June debate, where there was obviously open question about whether or not Biden could continue as the nominee. Some of the conversations I was having with my Democratic lawmaker sources then were some of the most glum I have had ever. Of course, that has rebounded and then some. When you see the glee at the top of the roller coaster, if we're watching it go like this, you see the glee at the Democratic National Convention. That then has an impact on Republicans. And I do think that there is concern among Republican frontliners in the same way we were hearing it around Democrats and frontline members who were worried about keeping their seats or their potential to flip Republican districts blue. That is definitely a concern now that we're hearing from some Republicans. We'll wait, of course, until they get back to town in about a week and a half to actually see how that's manifesting. But look, Congress doesn't actually have much to do in the month of September. They, of course, have the big task of funding the government, which should be easy, but isn't always. We expect them to pass some kind of continuing resolution into next year. And then their goal is to get out of town and get back on the campaign trail in their own districts. That's when we're going to see the impact of this top of the ticket on further down ballot races.
Ali, it was just 2 years ago you wrote your book. It's called Electable: Why America Hasn't Put a Woman in the White House Yet. There's its beautiful cover. How is this going? I mean, like, we're at this point, your book focused on these hurdles that women are facing while they're running for office. We're at this point with Vice President Kamala Harris now being the candidate. That was not always the case, of course. It was pretty recently that she became the nominee, that we even knew that was going to be the path we're on. What's your takeaway of where we're at right now, specifically just when it comes to the challenges that you know, that you researched, that you put out there in this fabulous book for us, that a woman faces uniquely?
First of all, this book was working overtime on the crystal ball because that subtitle makes me look brilliant right now. And then also the fact that the 2-year publication anniversary was the day after Kamala Harris's DNC acceptance speech. I don't know that we could have planned it any better than that because we didn't. No one knew that this is how it was going to go down. But look, that book actually focuses on the hurdles that people, including then Senator Harris, faced as a candidate. And I think the biggest difference right now, and I wrote about this for NBC in the immediate aftermath of Harris becoming at least the presumed nominee, if not officially so, is the fact that the gender and race dynamics that so often cut against non-white and non-male candidates are really focused on the primary. It's where it impedes their ability to get top staff, build campaigns on massive amounts of money. It's where the most benefit of the doubt is given to male candidates. Harris, because of the unlikely way that she got this nomination, didn't have to go through a primary for that. In a general, voters will likely just vote with the candidate that they most align with in terms of a national political party. She's building a different coalition. They're focusing on trying to pull white women, other different pieces of that. But for Harris, this is uncharted territory and potentially historic, even though she's not talking about that.
And if you haven't read Ali Vitale's book yet, now is a great time. I promise it is a fabulous primer as we head into these next couple months. Ali Vitale, thank you very much. Great to have you.
Thank you.
Well, Labor Day weekend officially here. Can you believe it? Airports across the U.S. are bracing for what's said to be a historic number of travelers. Today alone, TSA expects to screen nearly 3 million passengers, according to the travel site Hopper. The top 3 busiest airports, they're going to be Atlanta, Chicago, and Dallas-Fort Worth. But the travel blitz isn't exclusive to airports. Millions of Americans are also expected to hit the road and drive to their weekend destinations. Let's bring in AAA spokesperson Aixa Diaz, who has some important travel tips for anyone who is heading out this weekend, which I'm sure are quite a few of you listening right now. Aixa, always great to have you with us. Thank you so much for being here. Let's start with just what people should think about as they're heading out. Maybe let's start with driving. People driving to those weekend destinations. I'm always gaming. I do often drive places from New York City on a weekend like this. I'm always trying to game what's the best time to leave. What do you think? What is the best time to head out today and throughout the weekend, maybe also on that Monday traveling back?
Well, Savannah, people should really be heading out soonish, like before 11 a.m. So definitely around this time, because the longer you wait today to hit the road, the more congestion you're going to find. That 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. window in the afternoon is just brutal because not only do you have travelers hitting the road, but also just commuters, people getting off work, or a lot of families and students. Many kids are back at school, so you've got that traffic to think about as well. So if you're hitting the road, try to leave as early as possible today. And then if you're leaving tomorrow, Saturday, that actually might be more beneficial to leave a little bit later in the day. Usually we don't advise afternoon driving, but because so many people have to work today, Friday, that means that tomorrow they're going to hit the road early. So more people are likely then to be on the road in the morning. So you might want to head out a little bit later.
AAA also says it expects to rescue 300,000 stranded drivers over the course of the holiday weekend. What's that about? Why that number? And what can people do to avoid having any of that car trouble?
And the top 3 reasons, Savannah, are flat tires, dead batteries, and people locking themselves out, which is the worst. But it happens, and AAA will come help you if that does happen. The best thing you can do proactively is get your car checked sooner rather than later. Don't wait until like a few minutes before you hit the road to do that. Check your battery, check your oil, check your tire pressure. That way, if those things are not in order, you have time to get your car maintained and then hit the road. And have a spare set of keys. Not many people do that, but it's actually not bad to think about, especially if you have another passenger with you in the vehicle.
Yeah, exactly. Split them up, but take them both. Let's say the unfortunate does happen and you do get stranded. One of those things happens to you. What should people do?
Well, if you're on the road, especially if you're on a busy highway, you want to find a safe place to stop, preferably the nearest exit. But if you can't make it to an exit, pull over on the side of the road as far over as possible away from traffic. Not only do we see drivers and motorists themselves get injured on the side of the road, but we have way too many tow providers hit and killed on the side of the road because everything's happening so close. So, and as a driver, you need to slow down and move over when that does happen. Put your hazards on. And then also, if you're going to call AAA, for example, you can call or use the digital, use a digital mode, either the app or online. But also, if you have one of the newer iPhones, 14 and 15, and you don't have any cell service and you find yourself off the grid, you can call AAA and use the satellite with your iPhone to call for roadside assistance, which is huge.
Oh, wow. That's great to know. Really good tips there. Let's also talk gas prices. Can drivers expect relief when it comes to that compared to last year?
That is good news. So we're paying about 50 cents less this Labor Day than we were last year, and they've come down about 15 cents just in the past month. So the national average this morning is $3.35. So we are trending downward. We're watching the tropics, though, a couple of systems that could affect the Atlantic or the Gulf Coast. If that happens, that's when we tend to see gas prices go up a little bit if a storm affects refineries in the Gulf Coast. So this is, we're approaching the peak hurricane season. So this is the time when we're watching that. But so far, gas prices are actually lower than they were last year, and they've been trending downward for weeks now.
Yeah, wow, 50 cents less. That's a pretty big deal. Also, you guys have some data. AAA has some data. It shows overall domestic travel. It's up 9% this year compared to last year. But also, I thought this was interesting. More people are opting to get travel insurance. Given the surge in travel, why is that a good idea? Honestly, I think a lot of times I check the no box, but why should you do this or not?
And a lot of people do. And I think the pandemic really taught a lot of people a lesson, and sort of they learned from that and saw, okay, plans can change, people get sick, things happen. So they want to protect their investment, particularly when it's a big trip. So maybe you don't want to do it if it's a weekend, a quick trip to see your friends, a couple of nights. But when we're talking about a cruise vacation or an international vacation, and those have been very popular post-pandemic, that's when it's a good idea to protect that investment, because you never know what's going to happen. There's going to be a trip interruption. There's going to be cancellations due to weather or some computer glitch at the airport. So that's why more people now are thinking, okay, I want to protect the money that I put into it. But domestic travel is up 9% this Labor Day weekend because the cost to travel domestically is actually down 2% compared to last year. So it's a little bit more affordable. And so many people want to squeeze in that last hurrah of the summer. So it's not a surprise that more people are traveling this year over Labor Day, but international travel has come down a bit. And that's because the cost to travel internationally has gone up 11% compared to last Labor Day.
Wow, that certainly feels true every time you try to look at those flights. Aixa Diaz, thank you so much. Great to see you. Happy Labor Day.
Thanks.
Speaking of Labor Day, let's get a look at your holiday weekend forecast. Meteorologist Michelle Grossman joins us with the details on this one. Michelle, great to have you here. Good morning.
Good morning, Savannah. Great to see you. And unfortunately, some of us will need the umbrella as we head out the next couple of days. Starting today on to kick off our holiday weekend, we are looking at a lot of showers and storms, or at least a chance of them. Not widespread, not all day, but still look at all this green showing up on the map. That's indicating the chance for spotty showers and storms. And any of these showers could drop a lot of rain in a short amount of time. We're going to see rain falling along the Gulf Coast over the next several days. So we have a flood threat today, tomorrow, and then into Sunday as well, even Monday. Strong storms in portions of the Great Lakes, especially in southeastern Michigan. Back behind this front that's causing all these issues, we're looking at really dry conditions throughout the central and northern plains. Lots of sunshine. Temperatures not bad in the low 80s. And then further back to the west, we're heating up once again in the Pacific Northwest, the Intermountain West. Temperatures will start to climb, and we're looking at still a lot of sunshine. That's going to help to heat things up. So that is for today. Again, here's that cold front that's going to cause all the problems. We're going to see showers and storms along this cold front and ahead of it over the next several days as it kind of makes its way across the east. We have the threat for some strong wind, some hail, some flash flooding, not only today, but throughout the weekend as well. So that's going to cause some problems in the air. Likely delays where you see the red here in Detroit, St. Louis, Houston, and then possible delays for Chicago, Charlotte, Atlanta, Orlando, Tampa, Dallas, Fort Worth. So a lot of hubs, major hubs, could see some impacts as we go throughout this Friday. And then Monday we'll have some problems as well. If you're on the roadways, I mentioned the Gulf Coast and all that rain that will be falling. So along I-10 across the Gulf Coast from Houston to Pensacola, could see some slowdowns as well. I-44 into the Great Lakes, I-55, we're looking at the chance for those showers and storms. Now, as we head towards Monday, the unofficial end of summer, we're looking at a holiday washout across the south and also the southeast. Localized flash flooding as well. This is the same front and kind of gets hung up here, especially in the south. So we're going to see that rain falling along this front, and we're going to see it kind of going over the same areas. And it's going to be, you'll need the umbrella that day, maybe kind of plan for those indoor activities. Possible delays in terms of air travel on Monday in Dallas, New Orleans, Charlotte, Atlanta, Orlando. And then we're looking at likely delays in Houston and also Tampa. So plan for that as you head out on Monday. As far as the roads go, we're looking at I-10 once again, and I-95 in the southeast. We're looking at the chance for scattered showers and storms. Let's talk about that severe weather today, because we do have 5 million people at risk, especially from the Great Lakes throughout the Ohio Valley, We're looking at Detroit. You will be impacted by the chance for some strong to severe storms, especially once we get that daytime heating going. So winds gusting up to 60 miles per hour, damaging hail. Could see a brief tornado or two, so you want to stay weather aware today. That will be the same story tomorrow. Look how that number grows to 27 million, because now we're talking about the interior parts of the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic down to parts of the Tennessee Valley as well. We're going to see the same scenarios, really gusty winds that could cause some damage, some hail as well, and the low risk for tornadoes, but not zero. On top of that, we are worried about flash flooding because it is summertime. We have lots of moisture here, so we could see some flash flooding anywhere from the Great Lakes all the way down to the south. It's so important to be weather aware, especially on the holiday, a little bit more lackadaisical, but we're going to have some issues out there.
Really important reminders to stay safe. Michelle, thank you so much. We'll see you in a little bit.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.